You can take amazing images with a potato these days. No matter what lens you get, put that thing to use. When you start photography, a wide angle lens is one of the first lenses you're gonna wanna get, but do you have to spend $2,000 to $3,000 like I did to get pictures like these? Just kidding, those were all taken with a $200 lens. In this video, I'll go over what to consider if you're looking for a wide angle lens, like prices, shooting tips, primes versus zooms, and more. I'll also provide some budget lens options for beginners and let you know what I used up until recently. And I just picked up another budget lens option, which I've been really impressed with. So the shorter the focal length, the wider the field of view, and it allows you to fit more into the frame. So what is a wide angle lens? Technically speaking, anything wider than 35 millimeters is considered wide, but I associate anything under 24 to be really like an actual wide lens. And this will give you an encompassing view of the scene to be able to capture as much as possible. Where a standard telephoto will allow you to zoom in on specific sections, a wide angle is going to let you capture as much as possible. Sometimes the wider the better, but it depends on how much distortion you're comfortable with. Situations where wide angles excel are like landscapes, architectural and real estate, or anywhere you need to shoot within smaller spaces. But what do you need to consider before choosing a wide angle lens? For one, are you shooting on a crop sensor or a full frame camera? That will help determine the focal length you're going to want to choose. Crop sensor cameras have what's considered a crop factor. Basically what it means is on a smaller sensor size, the sensor's kind of like crop, making the lens appear more zoomed in. For example, if you had a 1.5 crop factor, you would multiply your lens by that 1.5, and that would ultimately be your full frame equivalent. For easy math, if it was a 10 millimeter full frame lens at a 1.5 crop, it'd be a 15 millimeter lens. So take that into consideration. And that can be a big benefit or a problem, just depends on the situation and what you're shooting. So generally, if you are shooting on a crop sensor camera, you're gonna wanna get a wider lens than you think, or one made specifically for your system. If you guys need any more information on this, just let me know down in the comments. Do you want a prime or a zoom lens? For example, primes have a fixed focal length, like 20 millimeters only, and you have to zoom with your feet. They generally have superior image quality, though in recent years, zooms have really caught up. They're usually smaller, lighter, they have faster apertures, but they're not as versatile as zoom lenses. Zoom lenses offer ultimate flexibility, especially for beginners. And in recent years, the image quality has gotten so good, it's hard to tell the difference from a prime, but they come at the cost of price and weight. The aperture is the opening on the lens that allows light onto the sensor to allow you to capture the image. And the smaller that is, the shallower the depth of field. And this is used creatively to separate subjects from their background, having out of focus things fall off in like a real beautiful blur. Some lenses are prized for the bokeh. Some photographic styles use this heavily and some not at all. It really shows up more with mid to longer focal lengths, because with a wide angle lens, you gotta get really close to your subject to get the depth of field to be small. If you shoot in low light or you want that look where you get a shallow depth of field with your subject, you're gonna want a lens with a fast aperture. But luckily you have a lot of choices with primes. Portrait and other style photographers use this heavily, but if you're a landscape photographer, you really don't need it that much, if ever. Sometimes you'll do an artistic photo, but that's about it. And you can stick with f4 lenses and save a lot of weight and a lot of money, unless you're also trying to shoot low light scenes or astrophotography. And that's where you really want a faster aperture wide angle, but more on that later. First, you have to think about your budget, and lenses are not cheap. We all know that very well. Primes are generally much less expensive than zooms because they're so much easier to make, and zooms offer the ultimate flexibility, but you're definitely gonna be paying for that convenience. The difference in price between zooms and primes can be pretty staggering. A ballpark example is a brand name wide angle fast aperture zoom can run anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000 plus. It's crazy. But on the other end, a third-party wide-angle manual prime lens could be anywhere from $200 to $1,200, but it's usually around the $400 to $700 range. Still not cheap, but much more manageable. And I'm just throwing some rough numbers out here, but you get the idea. I mean, this is really a personal choice and there is no right answer. A great zoom lens will give you flexibility, hold its value, and probably outlive you, but you're definitely gonna have to pay for it. Primes make you move with your feet more, make you work a bit harder to fit everything into your compositions, but they have awesome image quality and an awesome price, and that's hard to beat. I personally still shoot on wide angle prime lenses, and that's because I can't afford $3,000 lenses, and that's pretty much that. I used an inexpensive Samyang 14 millimeter manual prime, and it produced some fine images from landscapes to Milky Way shots for many years for me. And I think you can pick this up for around 150 bucks used, depending on what camera system you shoot with. They also have an MK2 version out. If you want to start shooting wide angle photography, you don't have to break the bank to get great images. You really just have to know what you're doing. So here's a few tips to get you started. You want to emphasize your subjects. Wide angle lenses can really exaggerate your subjects. So use this to your advantage in compositions by playing with perspective and filling your frame. And when you get closer to your subjects, they're going to appear much larger in your frame. Use lines and shapes to lead your viewer around the image. Wide-angle lenses are an endless playground for compositions, and they're so much fun. When possible, simplify your composition. You capture a very wide view with these lenses, so be very intentional with what you include in your frame and try to remove any distractions. Try to exclude anything that doesn't add to your scene. Changing your perspective dramatically changes everything in your composition. Moving your camera up or down even a few inches can really change the way it looks or feels and where the lines lay. It has all kinds of effects. Try different heights when composing to change the entire scene. This is why when you first start to compose a scene, try to go handheld at first so you can get a quick idea of the compositions. And you're gonna wanna watch out for distortions. Most times you can correct this in editing with a lens profile, but just be very careful of flat horizons or any straight lines on the extreme edges of your frame. Every lens is different and it's a very personal choice. So what do I shoot with now? Last year I upgraded my wide lens to a Viltrox 16mm f1.8, and as I said earlier, for years I shot with a Samyang 14mm 2.8. It's fully manually focused, which looking back now is kind of a blessing. I've been using autofocus more often and I've missed more shots with that than I care to count, so I think I'm gonna be switching back to manual, even though I do have autofocus on the Viltrox. But late last year I picked up the Viltrox. I got it during a promotion for exactly $418.83, so pretty good deal. I think they're about $600, and I will say it's an extremely durable lens because the first outing I took it on, tripod tipped over, went straight into a rock, bounced off the rock, and dunked in the water, fully submerged in the ocean. So she's still ticking after that. And my ND filter took the initial impact, as you can see here. But somehow she's still ticking to this day ever since. But overall, this lens has been excellent. It's been great for everything I've asked it to do. It takes a beating and keeps on going. Image quality's been great, and at that fast aperture, it allows me to shoot great astrophotography. It also has a bunch of cool functions like programmable buttons and other things that I really just don't use, but they're nice to have. I definitely recommend using it after putting it through its paces for almost a year. I got it mainly because I wanted to shoot astrophotography too, but it is a bit heavy to carry. And they do make a 14mm f4 I've been looking into. Has anybody seen that? The Air? If you've seen that or used that, drop a comment below because I might pick that up to stop carrying this throughout the year. So if you use that lens, drop a comment and let me know. Most lenses these days are pretty good, especially primes. If you're looking for a third-party lens, here's some brands I'd recommend checking out. I've used Tamron for years. I like Viltrox, Samyang, aka Rokinon, depending on where you are. And even Laowa have some really interesting lenses. Between all them, they cover most all camera systems and you'll be able to find something great. These days, most lenses are pretty solid, and if you don't need any of the fancy bells and whistles, you're not gonna have to spend a fortune to get some great optics. And you can save a great deal of money in the process. So if I was starting out today and I really wanted to get a wide angle lens, what would I choose? Well, I would absolutely go with a fully manual prime lens from a third-party company. No questions about it. And I would only get one with a fast aperture if I was interested in shooting really low light scenes or astrophotography. Otherwise, I would look for an f4 lens with excellent image quality, either manual or autofocus. And I definitely would look into used gear options too. You can save a little bit of money there. Anything from 12 to 20mm would be great. Personally, I like a 14 to 16mm view when exaggerating things and experimenting with perspectives. Otherwise, I'd go for a 20 to 24 for a more natural view. So let me know what wide lens you shoot with or you want to get. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But one of the best things you can do is subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos. And go check out my books. I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next time.